It's so exciting. It's such an exciting time to be in audio or be in production and post-production right now, because you have all these different formats that you can do. You have, the 360, the VR, you have the traditional format, and with the free distribution platforms that are out there now, you can do so much. You can create so much content and get your message out in so many different ways. It's awesome.
Welcome to Cinema 5D on the Go. Moving conversations about moving images with filmmakers and industry leaders. Brought to you by Tilta, Blackmagic Design, Manfrotto, and Olympus OMD in association with Sony. This is your host, Nino Leitner.
So when we talk about 360, I mean, it's obviously a big buzzword.
It is.
In the whole filmmaking community. And I mean, there's tons of different camera rigs coming out all the time. And obviously, for audio, it's a big challenge too, because of course, as your head is moving, the audio is supposed to move as well. Otherwise you get nauseous, I guess.
Right. Well, there's a distinct difference between 360 audio and VR audio.
Yeah.
360 audio is immersive, but it's not interactive.
Okay.
Meaning you're not interacting like with the headset moving around.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a big distinction, and it was actually something that I just really got clarified for me, that don't use 360 audio for VR audio. It's kind of a different thing. So. And then also there's binaural, which is I would say the basis for ambisonic audio, because it's the two in the big ears. But ambisonic audio, you really need, on set, you need a tetrahedral microphone. You really do. So like a lot of setups, if it's run and gun or not so big of a budget, or however you're doing it, you'll have your 360 camera, your VR camera, whatever it is,
Yeah.
John has that huge one. I'm like, wow, look at that thing, 16 cameras. I was just like, ugh. So, but you'll have your tetrahedral microphone right next to it, and then you'll have something like an H24N or a
So
Zoom
how does
something.
that microphone work?
The tetrahedral?
Yep.
It has 4 capsules, and so each capsule is capturing signals, the W, X, Y, and Z axis. And each capsule carries that signal, and then you carry this audio file through a process, A format to B format, into your editor, and then you spatialize it as you need, and then you output it and encode it with your video. Okay,
so basically the audio, when I turn my head in the VR audio thing, I would, maybe I'm mixing it up again, but if I'm doing a VR thing with the headset, I would move my head and the audio would move alongside, right?
Right, exactly. The audio is interacting.
Like if we were shooting this in this car here,
right?
I would really feel like I am in a car, because also changes. Okay.
Exactly. So you might trigger, if you want somebody to look over there, you might have a trigger where they're looking over there, but they're both immersive, but one is interactive and one is not. You can both listen to both on headsets, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just a different approach.
Interesting. And how much of your work is VR and 360 now?
Not so much. It's getting there. I mean, I feel like we're starting to do some more titles. We did a few last year. We're about ready to do one for the National Zoo, so pandas. So it'll be fun. But it's getting there. People are dipping in more slower on the bigger level, because they got a little burned with 3D.
Yeah.
So
just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a little burned with 3D, so they wanna wait and
make sure it's gonna stay.
Yeah, exactly. And plus also they're really, it's just a different way to tell the story, and they're trying to figure out how to tell the story, or how to tell their message, or whatever it is what they want to do and the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's, and it's also the wild, wild west. I mean, technology is changing constantly, all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's really hard to keep up until we start having some more standards, and we have those in place, and we have the rules in which we will then break the rules. Then it's a little bit of the wild, wild west out here right now. It really is.
But it is good. I mean, there's still a lot of possibility and in order ways to experiment, I think.
It's so exciting. It's such an exciting time to be in audio or be in production and post-production right now, because you have all these different formats that you can do. You have, the 360, the VR, you have the traditional format, and with the free distribution platforms that are out there now, you can do so much. You can create so much content and get your message out in so many different ways. It's awesome. And audio, I mean, my gosh, I just geek out every day. I'm like, oh, gee, I go in and I listen to my Atmos with my Danish audio design boxes that sound fabulous, and I'm just in heaven. You
know how Björk has her own like little suitcase with all her. I think like even like 15, 20 years ago, she just built everything.
Yep.
Music on the go.
Music on the go.
Before like a lot of the technology that was now available within a laptop really was there. So
the bag we put in the trunk, it's called my Go Pack, and so I mean I usually like to mix it in the studio, but especially with spot work, and we do, being in DC, we do a lot of politicals and political spots, and we just finished a crazy political year. I was
there in November, so I know.
We have this this mentality, we have to be working all the time. We have to get that spot out. The news hours, it's now 24/7. I mixed a couple spots at 2 a.m. in the morning, so, but the idea now is I'm not tied to the studio. If I have my focals and my headphones that I like to do reference monitoring on, and I've got my laptop and my key, and if somebody calls me, I could be at, wherever, and they go, I need this spot done. I can pull over, whip it out, do the spot, and get it out in an hour, a half hour. And,
that's cool.
And not ruin my whole day by sitting in the studio going, I wonder when they're going to get me
the dark chamber without windows.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really freed us up. It's a double-edged sword. It's freed you up to have a life, but it's also freed you up not to have a life.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, I'm not going to be near the studio. I can't do that. That's not an acceptable answer anymore. Yeah. So
it's pretty much like editing, like video editing.
it's all the same, but it's also very, very cool, because when I first started in the business, why I worked for free for 3 years to learn the gear and to learn how to do all this, is because I couldn't afford the $500,000 it took to have the gear. Now it's so accessible. And it's more about talent. I mean, it's always been about talent over tools, but now even more so, because the tools are so accessible.
Absolutely.
But the double side of that is that a lot of the younger people coming in don't have that mentorship, that apprenticeship, which is so needed, I think, to achieve, some high level work. So it's kind of
very much the same with filmmaking. Shooters, we have very accessible camera technology that allows us to do so many things that weren't possible before, and also democratizes the whole process. And you have so many people doing amazing work who would just not have access to anything like that only 10 years ago. On the other hand, you have so many youngsters, like without intention, kind of damaging the market because they would hire themselves out for way too little money.
A race to the end,
exactly,
a race to the bottom.
It's a problem. Yeah.
Well, that is a problem, and as basically a freelance person myself, but with a studio and with employees, it's doubly sometimes a lot of pressure to make sure everything happens for everybody. But I really think the work comes first. If you do good work and you get it out there, you're going to get paid for that good work. It may have a different range of what you're doing, different budgets, different clients, but the work comes first.
Yeah. So how do you think about, you are in an industry which, like the filmmaking industry, is very male dominated, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? It's I always am a bit weirded out that when I look at Cinema 5D at our website, we are very technically focused.
Right.
And if you look at Google Analytics, 95% of our audience are male. And it's kind of sad, and we try to branch out. We are getting in more female team members, also to bring in a different perspective, and also maybe move away from too much technical focus. Not move away from it, but add to that. Why do you think that is? Is it such a daunting?
I just had a conversation just this morning about this, so it's definitely fresh on the brain. When I first started in the business, less than 2% were female in the sound, audio post. And it was very difficult for me to break in. It took me almost 3 years to actually get my first paid gig in the industry.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was just necessarily because I was new, I was inexperienced, or I was a female, maybe a combination of all three.
Probably that, yeah.
So now I think it's 7% sound engineers. Well, so we're moving in the right direction. So that's right in line with your analytics, actually.
Yeah.
So I do have a feeling that it's just a lot. It's a lot to do all the time. And I was just telling the story about how when I was pregnant with my first child and I was trying to mix, and I was still working 12, 15-hour days, 8 months pregnant, and, I couldn't, I had to stand to mix because I couldn't reach the faders.
Yeah.
So I think, I think that, to get someone to the level of work that they're actually doing the work that they want to do in the manner they want to do it, sometimes by the time you get there, you're just like, I'm over it. My kids come first, my family comes first, I want to be more creative, I don't want to have this. And so we make the hard decisions of, no, we have to do this. So I don't know if that's it or not. I mean, I think it's a little daunting sometimes when you don't have mentors that are your same sex. I've always been very, very fortunate to work with awesome individuals who have shared with me, taught me, and all of them have been male. I've only worked with one female audio engineer in my whole career, 26 years. And hello, Kathleen. So, and I think that's saying something. There's also an awesome audio engineer that I feel very close to who's now out in LA. She's just mixing up a storm and TV scripted, Cheryl Ottenritter. So I think we're all just trying to make our way doing good work. It just comes back to good work.
Do you think it's, the lack of women in a lot of technical professions is because there's, male prejudice or patriarchal structures and stuff? I mean, I know women who are very interested in technology. They just, sometimes feel intimidated by, I think it's a very male thing to geek out over tech. In a way.
And I geek out, but I'm not that person. I know some geeks, but, and I love them, and I enjoyed listening. And when I first started in the business, I was that person. I was just, every night I was reading audio manuals and I was learning new things and stuff like that. I don't know if it's intimidation or if it's, male dominance in the field. I really can't put my finger on it. And but I think it's for each individual trying to enter the field, each female trying to enter the field, it's a different scenario. We're all individuals. And so I feel like it's whatever is stopping that is that thing. I don't know. I've had a hard time finding female engineers. I would love to hire a female engineer. I just haven't been able to find one. And I'm not gonna hire you because you're female. I'm not gonna do that to you. I don't want to be known as that female engineer. I want to be known as, hey, that's an engineer that makes that. So and so I think that's the way to do it. And I think, I don't know. You're asking me. I'm not a philosopher, but
no, I'm just interested.
I do feel that the whole family thing is part of it. I also feel that you're typecast the minute you enter place. Like I was interning in Nashville, thinking I wanted to get into the music publishing business, and this awesome gentleman, Tom Collins, gave me a chance. I just knocked on his door, and he said, "Yeah, come on in." And then I was a free internship, and but then I was just doing secretarial work. I wasn't doing anything in the studio. I didn't even know I wanted to be in the studio at that time. I wasn't doing anything in publishing. I was just answering phones and getting coffee. And
so how do you feel about free work? I mean, in general,
I think that if you're not getting paid, you can't get fired. There's no accountability if it's for either the employer or the employee, the internee, if it's free. I feel like there has been an atmosphere of people taking advantage of free employee, and free people, free work, and that's not good, and that's kind of ruined it for a lot of people who can't seem to get into internships these days because they all have to be paid. So I'm a little discouraged by that, but I do feel that only paid internships or apprenticeships, if you were, is the way to go. And I do that at my shop. So,
cool. yeah, I mean,
yeah.
to stop the race to the bottom, right? It's like,
Well,
I think a lot of people take interns and treat them like full-time employees
right.
without paying them.
Right, and you can't do that because then you can't have any accountability. So I feel like you're, you know, say you're an intern, you come into my shop, now I'm going to pay you. It might be minimum wage, but I'm going to pay you. And you're going to get the coffee, and you're going to do the trash, and you're going to do all that. But then you're also going to have access to all the gear.
Yep.
You're going to be able to sit in on sessions, and as soon as possible, you're going to get your hands on stuff, and you're going to show us what you got. You know, and if you got something, you get to stay, and if you don't, you're out
Yep.
the door. And I think that's where people take advantage of people that way, and that's what's kind of made it a really bad environment. And I just don't believe in it, because also too, I want to be able to look at that person and go, you're not cutting out, you know, you're fired. I can't say that to someone if they're working for me for free.
Oh yeah, absolutely.